Zaxby's, indescribably good.
Good evening, Raider fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Rocky Hidalgo Coaching Show, sponsored by Zaxby's, with 2 locations in each top. Well, Coach Hidalgo, we were going to do this show in the dark. We thought that would be fitting after what happened on Friday night, but big victory over Marietta, 59-28, beating the Blue Devils in circumstances that were a little unusual. But kind of give us a quick summary, but I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened when the lights went out. But just kind of overall thoughts and feelings after a big victory.
It felt like a Ghost Hunters episode out there for a little bit. And the lights were out. I kept looking for my thermal detector to see if any spirits. The kids, I've been telling them all week about playing at Northcutt and how crazy things happen over there. And it was funny. We got on the bus to get out there, and Orvin Whitaker goes, "Coach, Northcutt Stadium, that place is haunted. Something happens every year when we go over there. Every time we play there, it's interesting. I think, honestly, preparing the kids for it, preparing the coaches, we kind of knew something crazy was going to happen, and when it did, everybody just started laughing. Everybody just chuckled and laughed, and we just took it in stride. There's not a whole bunch you can do, and we felt like we kind of got off to a slow start, but really I kind of felt like if we'd ever get on the field and play the game, we'd kind of take it to them, and we'd settle down and play well, and we did.
13-7, the lights go out. Big bang, big boom over the band. Lights go out. Who were you talking to? Were you talking to officials? Were you talking to anybody that would talk to you, or were you just trying to make sure that no one got lost in the dark?
I couldn't see anything, so I don't know who I was talking to. I kept saying, "Get the players over here," and we had a bunch of players together, and every time I would try to walk away, I would see little white guys in white uniforms off to the side. Yeah. There's really nobody you could talk to out there when the lights went out because you couldn't find anything. I reached for my cell phone. I didn't have my cell phone on me, so I was in the dark as much as anybody. The only thing I thought about at first was, where is my wife and kids here in the dark? I hope they're in the stadium, not out in the street somewhere when it's pitch black. But once everything kind of got settled and everybody's eyes adjusted, the coaches found each other and the officials got together and we kind of talked things out. We kind of knew where it would go. Everybody wanted to play the game Friday night. We didn't want to come back Saturday night with everything going on. All those things, it's act of God.
So, you had the boys there for almost 2 hours during this delay. I know you all went to the concession stand. You got food, you got drinks, and things like that. People told me the boys were pretty calm. They were pretty relaxed. But was there anything that you all talked about as coaches to say, how are we going to deal with this? Or, when the lights come on, we'll warm up and just go back out and play?
Yeah, it was kind of just it. It was, just one of those things I told the kids, just be ready when the lights come on to come out and get after it. We made some adjustments, talked about the things that had happened. Yeah. About containing the quarterback and things we worked on at practice and making sure that we understood what we were supposed to be doing. And we kind of got that done. One thing about, Walton kids are really resilient. They never back down from anything. We don't kind of get out of sorts when something bad happens. Our coaching staff, and this is really what I told them, said, when we walked in after the lights went out, that, one thing I can count on, you guys are going to be resilient. Y'all will come out ready to play. Our coaching staff has probably coached in more big games in the last decade than anybody in Cobb County, and probably just about anybody in Metro Atlanta, with the exception of 2 or 3 staff. So we knew our coaches would handle it well. We knew our players would handle it well. It was just a matter of getting the lights on. That was the big issue.
13-7 turns into 31-13, I guess, at halftime. You had special teams plays. Kyle dominated. You had a kickoff return. And, overall, the score just kept mounting and mounting, and it just really turned out to be a dominating performance for the Raiders.
Yeah, I'll give Marietta credit. They didn't stop playing, and their coaching staff, I don't think they felt like they could really run the ball. They came out and said, we're going to come out and just chunk it up, and they've got some talented kids at wide receiver. The quarterback, their sophomore quarterback, is a really talented kid. They just kind of threw the ball in the air and made some plays, and they did a good job early in the game. But, defensively, we knew we'd kind of settle down once we started containing the quarterback. It's always a feel when you play a team like that. Right. Kind of you have to get the feel for it. And once we got to understand what was going on, I felt like we'd create a turnover, get a stop, and then we'd really get down. Our offensive line played well. Kyle ran the ball well. Bradley threw the ball well. And, I didn't feel like they could stop us consistently. I knew we'd be able to get out there.
Now, one of the things we talked about a few weeks ago is you have to take these games one at a time, and it is a cliche, but it's one it's true. And you took care of Wheeler, you take care of Marietta. Now you're facing the game that you have been looking to play, which is the Woodstock game. Really playing for a home field game in the playoffs. The winner's likely going to finish second in the region, a chance for us to get a share of the region, but we still finish behind Etowah based upon head-to-head. Big upset 2 years ago in the playoffs when Woodstock came here and beat us. They're a well-disciplined team. They run that option well. What can we look for on Friday night from Woodstock when they invade Raider Valley?
They remind me of us a little bit. Their
Sure.
kids play incredibly hard. That's one thing you can see. They play fast. They're very good tacklers. He's got a veteran football team over there. I've been on the phone with Coach Buddy all week long. We've been pulling out from each other. I don't think either one of us has buyed any of the baloney the other one's spewing. But their quarterback and running backs are very good players. They're really big on the offensive line. And they're just going to do what they do. They're going to get in and run the option. They're going to give the ball to the fullback and try to get the ball on the edge to the little tailback. They're a good football team. I think they're one of the two best football teams in the state. I've watched them on tape, and I've seen a lot of good teams, and they're as good as anybody we played, including Etowah and Brookwood. So it's for us, I've talked to the kids. This is a measure of how far we've come throughout the season, and we just got to go out there and play hard and play tough, and opportunity comes.
People talk about Woodstock because of that offense that they run. They're very good at it. They run in a very disciplined fashion. But I know that you and some of the other coaches have talked about their defense is really good.
They are. They're very good on defense. I think he's got a great group of kids, a senior-laden defense over there. They're not the biggest group of kids you will see. It won't be the biggest defense we've played all year.
Right. But
they're very well coached. Their kids understand their scheme. They get to the football. They compete for 48 full minutes on defense. A lot of people, they kind of overwhelm people a little bit with their pressure and their aggressiveness. That's one of the things we've talked with our kids all week long about. We've got to get a hat on a hat. We've got to locate them and run the football. We've got to, and that's one way you kind of take that aggressiveness away is you've got to get in there. They want to take away the run and one gap the offense. We want to get in there and get some knockoff and be able to run the football. And if we start pushing them around, it will take a step out of them. That's what we've got to do offensively, and worked all week long. But you can't replicate their speed on defense, the way they play their defense. You can't replicate it in practice. So we've got to get in there and adjust to it, and kind of got to hang in there and hold on and get our feet about us and just play.
One of the things that has come up is that the Raiders have qualified for the playoffs, though. I mean, that's a goal at the beginning of the season. You have an opportunity to do more than just qualify. But that's something to bring about with the team, and an accomplishment that good for you as your first year as a second year as a head coach, but first trip to the playoffs and this senior class getting to the playoffs. It's not an insignificant thing.
Yeah, and look, we're excited by it. We talked about at the beginning of the year we want to get in the playoffs and compete for a state championship. We want to compete for a region championship. We have those opportunities in front of us Friday night and further on. This is a young football team from the get-go. We've talked about going out and coaching Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, getting better. Anybody who's watched our team every week, can't deny this team has gotten better. We've got some talent. We still have a long way to come, but I feel this team can compete with just about anybody. We get a little better every week. Our practices get a little more crisp. We understand things. And getting in the playoffs is a big deal. We never want to miss the playoffs at Walton High School, and that's one of our goals we set out the season. We look forward to playing whoever it is down the line. But right now it's all about Woodstock and trying to win that game on Friday.
Sure. Well, we're going to take a break and hear a word from our sponsor, Zaxby's, and then we'll come back with those always famous Rocky Hidalgo Saturday and Sunday picks.
Zaxby's, indescribably good.
So I'm sitting in a hotel watching Monday Night Football in Boston thinking, man, I've got to go face Rocky after Jim Miller decided to fumble the football at the 40-yard line when it looked like the Steelers were going to have a chance to maybe get ahead of the Saints. But you had to feel pretty good about the way the Saints played last week, especially after the way it was against the Browns the week before.
I'll be honest with you, it was Tuesday before I found out if they won or not. The NFL season, when we work on Sundays, is literally a blur to me. I usually check the Saints score on Monday morning, and just with the big game, I didn't have a chance. And then somebody was happening to mention that the Saints won on Sunday, and I was like, well, that's something, one good thing that happened this weekend, so I'm proud of that. you know, anytime you know, a team like New Orleans is going to come back after they've kind of stunk the joint up the week before against Cleveland playing at home. It's, kind of expect them to come out and play well. They're not going to stink it up.
Especially playing in New Orleans on Halloween, where I believe they set a Guinness World Record for most people in Halloween costumes. 17,000 is them wearing some kind of Halloween costume. But big game of the slate this week is Auburn and LSU. Alabama and LSU at Death Valley. And, you know, a lot of people talking about that Alabama-Auburn game down the road, which has got to drive somebody like Nick Saban crazy because he's got the LSU Tigers sitting there right in front of him.
I promise you, he has yelled at a reporter at some point in time this week for asking him about Auburn. That guy is focused on one thing and one thing only, LSU. And you know, I think both teams, you know, obviously LSU's not as good on offense as Alabama is, but
Sure.
I think Alabama's quite as good on defense as LSU is. So it'll be an interesting game. You know, I'll pick LSU down in Baton Rouge. I think everybody's going to be fired up for that one. Anytime Nick Saban comes back to town, people will be sacrificing chickens out in the parking lot with voodoo priestesses and stuff like that. So it'll be voodoo dolls, and you know, anything will happen in that game. So you can't discount anything.
Alabama's favored by 6 points in that game at LSU, and I think I'm going to pick the Tide just because I want to see that game on Thanksgiving Friday between what might be an undefeated Auburn and a one defeat Alabama team. But a lot of football to play before you get there. One of the other games is is South Carolina and Arkansas. Arkansas comes to South Carolina. South Carolina leading the SEC East. Had some big wins, and Arkansas always just seems to be that team that just finishes behind somebody.
They do. You know, Arkansas is very dangerous because they can score a lot of points. You know, I think Ellis Johnson is a really good defensive coordinator. Puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They always play hard. You know, offensively, kind of South Carolina losing guys by the quarterback on how well he plays.
Right.
When he plays well, they're really good, and when he kind of struggles and he's inconsistent, they're not so good. But, you know, they've got the tailback. They've got some playmakers on offense, I think, South Carolina.
I'm going to pick Arkansas, even though Bobby Petrino is not the most famous person or favorite person in this part of the country. And then, you know, tomorrow night, Georgia Tech goes up to Hokieville and plays Virginia Tech, who, you know, Virginia Tech had 5 or 6 bad days when they lost to Boise and then lost that, you know, very tough loss to James Madison, a 1AA team. Georgia Tech's not playing real well right now, though. Headed up to Blacksburg is going to be tough.
They're struggling a little bit. I think anytime you go up to Blacksburg is a tough place to play. Virginia Tech's playing well. You know, the tailback's a hard-nosed kid, and they play great defense. I'll take Virginia.
Now, the Falcons have those first-place Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming here on Sunday. Now, Tampa has most of their wins against losing teams. The 2 teams they played with winning records, which were the Saints and the Steelers, they lost kind of handily. One would hope, as Falcons fans, and we know who you're a Saints fan, but this should be a game that maybe the Falcons just say, hey, the NFC South is still about the Falcons and the Saints, not about the Buccaneers. I hope that will be the case.
And at the end of the day, I think it's going to be the case. I'll pick the Falcons. You know, anytime you go on the road in the NFL against a decent team, it's tough to win on the road in the NFL. Looking at this weekend, the Dirty Birds will roll.
Well, the Falcons have a tough one because they turn around and play on Thursday night against the Ravens, so they've got a short week with the Thursday night game on NFL Network with the Ravens and Ray Lewis coming to town. So that's going to be a difficult couple of days for the Falcons. And then your Saints travel to Carolina. Now, Carolina wins more at the Superdome than maybe any other team other than the Saints, but they're just terrible this year. They can't score, but they played a really tough game against the Saints the first time they played in New Orleans. But Saints go on the road, and I'm sure they're favored by quite a bit.
You know, I'm always going to pick the Saints just because I don't have my my Aints bag out yet. But I think the Saints will win the game. You know, it's in the NFL, the talent level is so close between all the teams, and it really comes down to 1 or 2 players. You know, quarterback here, a running back here, and one guy has a good day in the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody. It's always been the case. But I'll take the Saints.
Well, folks, there's a couple of reminders for this Friday night. First of all, it is the game of the week on Channel 11, so the Woodstock versus Walton game here at Raider Valley will be the game of the week for Channel 11. The other reminder is that it's senior night, so get here early. We'll be introducing all the senior football players, band members, as well as cheerleaders. And it's a big night, and it's an emotional night, mostly for the parents, having been through that myself. It is a tough night. But the Raiders are playing for a home playoff chance the following week. This is not the last Rocky Hidalgo Show of 2010. And by God, we're going to keep it going for a couple more weeks. But come early, senior night this Friday night, Woodstock versus Walton, And it'll be live on Raider Vision if you can't make it to the stadium. See you then.